All right, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Doug Sandler from Turnkey Productions, and that guy over there with the fancy background. Wow, John Browning, you're getting like all legit now. That's looking good. How you doing, John?
It's about time, right?
No, man, you've always been professional in your messaging, and your background actually has been good too. And then I kind of made you turn off the fancy background because of the green screen incapabilities. But now it looks like Zoom is doing something really cool with these backgrounds.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it works here. I've just been using it for the past, I don't know, a week or two, so we'll
Well,
see
I,
what.
I like it. I like it a lot. And for you, those of you that are listening in audio, this is meaning absolutely nothing to you. So
Yeah, they're like, what are they
we
talking
we
about?
apologize. We'll get out of that subject really quick. But we want the subject that I did want to get into with you because I've had a few very interesting experiences over the last couple of weeks since we had spoken last and done our last recording. And it's all in the world of customer service. We live in such a fast-paced, technology-focused world that everybody wants to be online and they want to be able to get
Yeah.
information, through the internet. And with AI is as big a feature and tool as it is right now. But how is AI affecting your job? How is the technology affecting your job? And the other side of it, really, which is really what I want to focus on, is the customer service element. We don't want to delete or eliminate a positive customer experience because of AI, technology, the interwebs, all of the things. So, how do we even focus on servicing our client in such a technology prone world that we live in right now? So, that's the subject. So, love to hear your 2 cents here.
Yeah, that's interesting because just literally got off with a longtime client of ours here at Guardian Rock Wealth, and he has an annuity that really is not serving him as well as some of the new opportunities that are out there. And there's just some things about annuities, right, that are fairly complicated. So he needed me on the phone with him to get a little bit of information and ask the question the right way and all that.
So I'm envisioning you, your client, and the annuity company trying to connect. Right now we're on the phone. I'm assuming, correct?
Yes, we are on the phone, and we are in that robo,
Uh,
I don't know what you call it, some negative term. But it's just like, if this, press one, and type this in. Well, we didn't understand that. Say your account number, said the account number. We still didn't get that. And
some
it's, of
of our
course, the
some of our
computer
menu
talking
options have changed. Please wait
to
until
me.
you hear them all before you select the one you want. Oh my gosh. So what do
Mhm.
you do in an environment like that? I mean, that is not the exception today. That is the rule as it relates to some of these very, very large companies. So what do you do?
Right. Well, I mean, I mean, no joke. You have to sort of, okay, I know I have a half an hour set aside, and this is what I'm going to be doing. Have, you know, water or maybe something stronger next to you, and just you're going to be frustrated.
So I, I
You are.
I expect to deal with it in a commoditized market like cable TV or phone service or anything like that. But when we have a non one size fits all service, or I have something like an annuity or life insurance or an investment, you can be the face of that for that client, but you still have to have a conversation with the servicing company when you have a bigger question that you can't answer as the go between. So, how do you deal with that with your customers? How do you deal with that as you are bringing clients on board? Because isn't that one of the first questions I ask is how personal is the service that we're going to get with you?
Well, then that really is for us at Guardian Rock. That is a key differentiator. If you really want to deal with and some people do, they're do-it-yourselfers, fine. They want to deal with a big company. You can absolutely call the shareholder line if you don't want to deal with me or whatever. But literally less than 1% of my clients do that because they know that if they send me a text, or if they send me they call and I don't pick up, that I will call them back within definitely within 24, 48 hours, but
Hmm.
I'll usually call them back within an hour or so.
Right, right.
And I can generally, sometimes it's not what they want to hear, right? Well, we have to have this signature on this form, but I can get you the right form and I can send it to you on DocuSign.
Hmm.
So all you have to do is click a few buttons and we get this taken care of. Maybe there's a decision that needs to be made, but here are your three choices. And I think this one's best over here, but here are the other two choices. Your call. You know, I like to give people enough choices, but not too many. And and then it gets taken care of. What unfortunately what I find when I end up on these, robo
Yeah,
calls is
right.
that even when you get to somebody, it's typically not somebody who can necessarily help you. They have to go to their manager. They have to tell you that they can only send you something through paper mail. They can't email it to you. They can't get it to you quickly. There's always some reason they can't, right? That's their favorite word. Well, we can't do that. We're sorry. We can't do that. And sometimes I have to say that too, but generally speaking, we can take care of things fairly easily. Some of that's because I've been doing it a long time and I have some people that help me with some of the paperwork. That
Hmm.
also helps. But it's really important for me that my clients talk to either me or one of my team that really knows what they're doing in terms of, oh, you just need this paperwork. You don't need to talk to John. I
Right,
know you need
right.
this paperwork. Here it is. But if they ever want to talk to me, just because, that's a big difference between me and a lot of the other firms out there.
Well, I talk
I
about
never want to get that big. I
I
just
talk
don't.
well, and I feel the same way as a podcast production company. I feel the same exact way. It's like I don't want. Look, it'd be great to have 1,000 clients, but I know what comes along with 1,000 clients is the headache of systemizing something to the degree that sometimes you won't be able to talk to everybody. And I love the idea of having the customer experience in Guardian Rock Wealth's case, customer experience as your competitive advantage. When you're dealing with I would say typically people are dealing with, am I going to go with the smaller firm or am I going to go with the larger firm? A smaller firm, I'm going to get more personal service. Larger firm, I'm going to get less service. Is there a difference in, I don't, again, I don't know how to say it other than say it. Is there a difference in things like fees or anything that or rate of return? Is there any reason why somebody would go on the larger scale rather than the smaller, more personal service?
Well, I'll tell people, listen, I see no reason to number one wear a tie anymore. So I
Right.
don't. Generally, I mean, you rarely see me in a suit and tie, although I can get dressed up if I need to. It really makes you happy. But generally, I'm not going to have a tie. I'm not going to have like cherry wood office anymore. I had that when I was on Wall
Right.
Street. Everything was cherry wood. It was beautiful. I had a little table in my office, beautiful, all that. I find that nobody at even before 2020, nobody really wanted to fight traffic to come see me.
Hmm.
There, or I shouldn't say nobody. There were, I think, two people that really wanted to come see me in the flesh.
Right. Right.
And then after 2020, it's even more so that way. So if you want a fancy office, I'm not your guy. Um, but I can refer you to some guys who are great in their
They
fancy
have
office and
they have
fantastic.
very nice desks.
Yes, they have awesome desks. Fantastic. Um,
Sometimes it is that hardwood desk, and then sometimes it is so that's one. You painted the picture perfectly. The guy in the suit with the hardwood desk, and then you have on the opposite side of things, you have the completely sterile environment that you get online with no personal service. You don't even have a
yeah.
name. You don't even deal with a person. You're just dealing with an app. So can you talk about that on the other side of it too?
Yeah, because you're never talking to an app with Guardian Rock Wealth unless you want to. And then, of course, we have that. We have an app for that. But I don't know. I don't think there's really any of my clients who do that on a regular basis. They would rather talk to me and just have me do it. Kind of like with you, we we record these episodes and I really have no idea how they get to be podcasts.
Right.
I
It's
don't know
okay.
how
We
that
like to keep that a secret from you, John. We don't like
and
to
you know
share that.
what? That's okay with me.
Well, but that's a really good subject point, though. The fact that you are in your zone of genius, and we've actually talked about this on several different episodes before, but not specifically with an episode about customer experience and customer service, is that your zone of genius, the thing that you love the most, the gift that comes easiest to you, which does not come easiest to a guy like me or many of your clients, probably all of your clients, is the head in the numbers, the head in the market, the following the stocks. I mean, I think that you probably I envision you putting your feet on the ground almost the same time every day as you're grabbing your phone and looking at what the market has done while you were sleeping. So I
Pretty
is that
much.
right? So you love doing that, and I'd love to just chat about that for a second, because this is what drives you. This is your passion, right?
It really is. Yeah. I mean, yes, and you're right. At 6:10 every morning, my country music alarm comes on, so now you know something else, and it wakes me up, and my feet hit the ground. I get to right next to the shower, and I am looking at what happened. What
Right.
I'm starting that process. The brain is kicked into gear within a few. Other than I do take a few minutes away from the markets, and I do read my Bible, and I talk to the most important person, which is the creator and sustainer of the universe. So I do make that number one. Number two is I'm looking at what I love to do, which is see what happened overseas, what's affecting the markets this morning. And then I do the morning update every single morning between I'm recording between 7:45 and 8:15 every morning, and I send that out.
Amazing, amazing, and for those of you that have not tuned into to John's YouTube channel, we'll put a link in the show notes for that as well. And you're there every day, 5 days a week, 7 days a week. How many days a week are you there, John?
Yeah, five days a week. I've got it's on Substack, and then a YouTube. I'm doing the podcast is on there, and then I'll do single videos on important topics like why a Roth is important and when a Roth isn't a good idea, and we go through some of the myths of this, that, and the other. Six, one that I just recorded that isn't out yet is I'm 60 and I don't have anything saved for retirement. Those videos like that are hopefully helpful. They're free. Nobody has to pay for that, and hopefully it creates some value for people.
The Substack links, I don't know that we are, and I'll double check through the through our guys in production, but do we put the link in our show notes for that? If we don't,
Not
we definitely
sure. We
we
should. Yeah, we
definitely
should definitely do that. We'll do that going forward.
Okay, got it. So
I'll get that to you.
for those in our community, you'll have access to two things: Substack link, and you'll also have access to John's YouTube channel, which I think we've already got put into the show notes. It is very interesting, those that can live in this technology world and be okay with the impersonal service that the internet and AI can provide in that one size fits all environment, but at the same time need the personal handholding that a guy like John can provide. Has it always been that way? Do you set it up with your customers that way from the very beginning, knowing that this is how the relationship is going to be, this level of service that you can provide? I know that you give them access to the online capabilities, but I don't think that would be your preference. I think your preference would probably be, I want to have a relationship with you as a person, so I know what's going on in your life.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple reasons for that. Number one is I do want to have a personal relationship with my client, because what goes on in you, and this is where the book comes in, build a life, not a portfolio, because your portfolio supports your life. If something's going on in your life, it really helps me to know about it, because I can say, you know what, given that I see this, that, and the other thing may be happening in the future. And then I can verify with you while I'm like looking at you over Zoom or listening closely to even literally the voice inflection. and get an idea, you know what, should we turn some dials? Should we lift some levers in your portfolio to prepare for what has changed in your life? And even if they maybe seem like small changes, just having a conversation can bring out some things that, oh, we should talk about X or Y or Z. A really important one that just came up the other day with a great client of mine is we're coming up on open enrollment for people,
Mm-hmm.
for their healthcare and everything
Healthcare.
else that happens around October, November,
Mm-hmm.
for everyone, not just when you're 65 and on Medicare. And a couple of years ago, she made a decision, this is before we met, and it had a 8-year consequence.
Wow.
And she's lamenting that. I'm like, hey, it's done. It's history. We can learn from it. We won't do that again. but yeah, we got to deal with it. So we're going to do things with the other part of your portfolio in order to adjust for that decision. But if you're going through open enrollment, sometimes we just sort of check the boxes and get excited. We should do a podcast on that, actually. And
Yeah.
actually, we'll do that. But you can make some really important decisions that can impact you in not a great way or in a great way, depending on
You
those
mean
little, how quick
beyond?
you get through this.
And we'll talk about that in a future episode for sure. Maybe the next one we do because we're just going through this. I don't like to time necessarily the podcast episodes, but we're about to get into open enrollment, and by the time this airs, we'll be in the hunt very
That's
hard
true.
for that.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, if you are there some things? I thought the decisions you make about healthcare are just related to healthcare. You're talking about there's some tax implications on the type of plan that you choose.
Well, there can be, yeah, and it's not just open enrollment. You're making insurance decisions. You're making, HSA decisions and
Got it.
things that can impact things.
Got
Yeah.
it. Got it. Typically, if we talk about a little bit more about the customer experience with you and your team, typically when someone engages your services, how often do you what's your comfort level for meeting with them when they're either a new client, yeah, a mid-level client, and maybe an experienced client that's been with you for a long time? So, what's your experience?
So, I mean, everyone's different. People have different preferences on that. When I get a new client, I suggest we meet more often, maybe as often as once a month. But one of the big misconceptions that I have to deal with is that sometimes people expect with investing that you invest and then something happens like the next day or the next month. You got to give me a little time. The market needs a little time to start working. It's not like you get in your Tesla and you hit hit the electric and it just zooms off and immediately has all the torque in the world. It's kind of like the combustion engine. You have to turn
Mhm.
it on. The Even in the biggest muscle cars out there, there is a delay in that combustion engine between when you hit the gas and when you start moving more quickly.
And that first fire up, you got to pull the choke a little bit, so it takes a little. It's got to make it a little bit richer, a little leaner, rich
That is,
lean.
you know what? That's a great analogy, actually. That is true. I mean, most changes to any investment, even the ones that start to make a difference right away, I mean, it's going to be at least 30 days, if not a full quarter, before you start seeing any kind of results.
Right.
And that can be really tough for folks because even if they've just kind of come out of a 401k or even a pension plan and they've never looked at it before, but now they're looking at it because they made this change and they're like, well, wait a second,
Right.
the
Right.
market went down yesterday and this is going the wrong direction. What in the world? No, there's a whole plan here and it's a multi-year plan. So answer your question, early on, I like to speak with them, after we, hey, we got the funds. Yes, they're in the account. Did you find out how to get into your account online, not just through me? So that app
Right.
idea.
Right.
And then the next thing is maybe a month or two. I tell them this is going to take a little while, maybe a month or two, first quarter, second quarter. A lot of times, as they get more comfortable with how this works, it starts being me chasing them, saying, hey, we need to schedule something for next quarter. I like to meet quarterly. Most of my clients don't want to talk to me quarterly. They
Yeah,
want to talk maybe semi-annually or even annually. I really encourage a little bit more often than that, so there's no like, oh my gosh, what happened? Or something like that.
totally get it. And that's great. I love the idea of you taking the lead rather than someone chasing you. You're actually it's I know it's not easy to hear it as the service provider, as the advisor, but I'd rather have you chase them than them chase you.
That's right. I do try and make sure that I am contacting everybody several times per year, but certainly not every month. And of course, you know me, I send out this podcast that goes out every other week. I do a monthly newsletter. I do the morning update. So I'm communicating a lot with everyone on a broad range. And of course, all my clients get everything, in addition to some special just for clients videos that I'll send out. But there's some people that don't like to communicate by video. They really just don't like that, especially if you're in a certain age level
Yep.
and this is not how you ever used to do things and you're not going to change now. Maybe you like to read, or maybe you like to just talk with me directly, and I try and be sensitive to that as well.
I think my mom sends her advisor, and she's in her 90s, and her advisor is in his 80s. So I think they do it via smoke signal. I'm pretty sure that's how they
Right.
do it. You know, Barry's a nice guy, but it's like he doesn't do anything online, so it's really hard to communicate that way. Super nice guy, but I understand completely, and the idea of you have to mold to your market. I'm assuming if you have a 20 something that comes into the fold as a client, they're going to want to communicate with you differently than someone that you may have that's in their 80s or even 90s.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So for those of you, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, one of the other things I kind of wanted to circle back to too,
Yeah.
because I didn't answer your question. Is there any difference in fees? And I think that's important. People always want to know, well, how much do you charge? How much do you charge? Um, Financial advisors actually have to eat as well. I'm just letting people know that. So we do charge for our services. I do not charge anything necessarily more than anyone else for what generally is considered to be a higher level of service. Um, I find my service to be right on par. I'm not the cheapest.
Hmm.
And, if you're going to go with sort of the cheapest, just understand that it will likely be a lower level of service. And that may be just fine with you. If you have a smaller account size, say you're just getting started, you got 25, 30, $50,000 or something like that, I'm going to be on a relative basis more expensive for you.
Right.
If you're getting up into where you've got 250, $300,000, and a mistake could be very costly, or just doing things the normal way that you hear about on CNBC or online might be literally holding you back and costing you money, not by making necessarily a major mistake, although that can happen as well, but also be holding you back in terms of how hard your money could be working for you. That could be a lot more expensive than paying a financial advisor, whether it's
Oh,
me or another one.
Absolutely. The personal service comes at a cost for those in our community. You're not buying a discount brokerage fee, or you're not doing it online without the assistance of someone that is guiding you. Sometimes the product selection alone could be the difference between having a fee that feels like it's in line, and a fee that seems like it's more expensive. So it's the advice that you're providing. You're being paid for that, and you should be paid for that. That's what happens. That's what you get rewarded by when you put your feet on the ground at 6'10". And the second thing that you do after checking out your Bible and saying hi to the man above or the woman above is think about your clients. And that what better level of service could you get than that?
Well, that is the idea, right? And I always tell people it's not as much about performance. So I can give you performance above the S&P 500. I can give you performance below the S&P 500, but a lower volatility so you can sleep better at night.
Mhm.
Or I can give you roughly the performance of the S&P 500, but why would I bother? Right? Because you could just
Right.
go and buy the
Right.
S&P 500, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
but here's the other thing though, and this is the thing that people don't realize is that simply by doing planning, forget your performance. You can't forget your performance, but
Right.
say your performance is S&P 500. The reason why you might still want a financial advisor is because they can position you so that your tax situation is much, much more beneficial for you than it would be if you didn't have that advice in terms of where to position your assets. So you
Well
could have the
said.
exact same performance, exact same portfolio, but in different types of accounts and be way ahead of the game or way behind the eight ball, depending on how you arrange it.
And that is part and parcel to do with the customer experience, and it's not just an 800 number that you're calling and connecting with the machine or a robo voicemail. You're connecting with that guy over there, John Browning. John, if those in our community wanted to get connected with you directly, what's the best way for them to do that?
Best way is go out to guardianrockwealth.com, and there's a contact us section along with a whole lot of other free information out there, some explanations, some thoughts on the market, some opinions, and then you can also have access to all of my podcasts and everything else. But the contact us section, we do respond to that right away within 24 hours or less. Or you can text, take out your cell phones, dial 321-421-5213 and put the word life in there. Send that. You'll get all of my links and a lot of free information there, as well as my calendar link. And that goes directly to my calendar. So my personal calendar, and you may be a week or two out, but I will block that time out and we can have a chat.
All right, good start. Good way to connect with your clients, actually directly one on one. None of this online stuff to start the relationship. You're going to have a direct relationship with John as it should be. John, thanks for sharing your wisdom and your expertise, and of course your experience here on the show today. Thanks for being here.
All right, thanks.